these 300?
Adam, we're gonna get this gator, bro. We having gator for dinner.
The mysteries of the waters are best understood by those who know them best, the fishermen and sailors who spend their days upon the seas. These aquatic veterans encounter bizarre sights, from unknown creatures to strange objects. Join us as we show you 20 mysterious things found by sailors and fishermen. Number 20. Message in a bottle. Finding a message in a bottle may seem like a romantic movie cliché, but for one lucky Frenchman, it became a reality. In August 2021, a 71-year-old retired fisherman, Hubert Ariao, discovered a message in a bottle while walking along a beach in Les Sables d'Olonne, France. Amazingly, the message had been put into the sea back in 1997 by an American elementary school student as part of a science project nearly 3,300 miles away in Massachusetts. During middle school, Ben Lyons and his classmates wrote letters about ocean currents as part of a science project and sailed them into the sea enclosed in bottles. In his letter, Ben asked whoever found it to fill out questions and return it. Most bottles were likely lost forever to the vast ocean. But against all odds, 2 decades later, Hubert Ariao discovered one of Ben's bottles washed up on a beach. Remembering the request, Ariao thoughtfully completed the questionnaire and mailed the letter back to Ben's school in Sandwich, Massachusetts. Despite confusion at the schools Ben attended as a child, staff eventually tracked down the former 5th grader. Lyons was astonished and delighted to receive a response after nearly a quarter-century adrift. His childhood science experiment had come full circle through the kindness of a stranger across the ocean. This heartwarming story reveals the power of hope and human connection. A simple request for scientific inquiry connected 2 people across continents and decades through serendipitous discovery. Like Ben's bottle riding the currents, we never know when or how our actions may return to us years later through the mysterious tides of life. Number 19. Free ride for sloth. Sloths have a reputation as the kings and queens of kicking back, and a video of a swimming sloth accepting an impromptu boat ride cemented their status as relaxation gurus. In this footage from Brazil, 2 men in a small boat notice a sloth laboriously paddling across a wide river. Concerned for its safety, they maneuver over to scoop it aboard, to the sloth's apparent delight. Known for hanging inverted in rainforest canopies, the aquatic adeptness of a doggy-paddling sloth comes as a surprise. Yet sloths are strong swimmers, adept at breaching gaps between trees. Their long arms and low center of gravity aid an efficient front crawl. Some can even hold their breath for up to 40 minutes, helpful for dives up to 30 feet down while foraging. When currents sweep them out further than they prefer, sloths willingly relax and go with the flow till finding shore. The boat ride likely saved this swimmer pointless detours, but its calm acceptance hints these slow creatures have learned sometimes an easy ride beats letting life's currents drag you off course. So calm down and wait till it carries you where you need to go. Number 18. Cocaine in the sea. 2 South Carolina fishermen out trolling for mahi-mahi got an unexpected catch floating amid debris, over 1 million worth of cocaine. Instead of prized fish, their nets hauled up dozens of bricks of illicit narcotics, presenting the anglers with a morally fraught scenario. Realizing each brick held kilos worth thousands on the street, calculations spun wildly. These dozens of bricks potentially equaled millions in cartel contraband, drifting right under their noses. Questions raced through their minds. Report it? Dump it discreetly to avoid scrutiny? Try selling it themselves? Morality and lawfulness won out, but the temptation of such vast riches bobbing within reach gave them understandable pause. In the end, they determined the risk and criminal liability of keeping their plunder outweighed fortune's fleeting gains. So once back to shore, they steered to the nearest Coast Guard station to report the floating narcotics and transfer custody. While rewarded only with thanks rather than the substance itself, the 2 could claim compensation with a clear conscience for doing the right thing when faced with unlawful temptation at sea. Number 17. Abandoned cargo ship. In a nightmarish ordeal, a Syrian sailor named Mohammed Aisha was trapped utterly alone aboard an abandoned cargo vessel for over 4 years. His plight began in 2017 when the ship he was working on became impounded by Egyptian authorities over a financial dispute near the Suez Canal. As acting captain, Aisha was mandated to stay on board as the legal guardian until the conflict could be resolved in court. But as months turned to years of endless red tape, the ship's owner abandoned the vessel entirely, leaving only Aisha stuck on board while its condition deteriorated. With no crewmates or technical support, Aisha was forced to survive in isolation, even diving into the waters to collect food and supplies. Despite unlivable conditions, regulations dictated he could not permanently leave until replaced as guardian. After over 4 years marooned at sea, a replacement guardian was finally appointed in 2021, allowing the exhausted Aisha to return to the land and his family. His extraordinary tale of endurance spotlights the frequently irrational complexities of maritime law and politics that restricted basic freedoms. Despite the challenges of his confinement, Aisha persisted through sheer will and hope, emerging with a profound perspective on life's struggles and the human capacity to overcome them. Number 16. Cormorant fishing. Cormorant fishing is an ancient tradition in China and Japan, where fishermen use trained cormorants to catch fish for them. Dating back over 1,300 years, this practice involves a remarkable cooperative relationship between man and bird. In China, cormorant fishing is centered primarily along the Li River in the Guangxi region. Here, fishermen head out on bamboo rafts with their trained cormorants perched beside them. The rafts drift slowly down the river, guided by the fishermen using a pole. When the cormorants spot fish, they dive into the water and swiftly catch them in their large beaks. The fishermen prevent the birds from swallowing the larger fish by placing constrictive rings around the bird's neck. This allows the cormorant to hold the fish temporarily in its throat, but it cannot gulp it down. Once back aboard the raft, the fisherman removes the fish from the cormorant's throat and rewards the bird with every 8th fish caught. In Japan, cormorant fishing is known as ukai and takes place mainly along the Nagara River. Japanese fishermen who practice this technique are called usho. The ushos form close bonds with their cormorants, caring for the birds year-round and training them diligently. At night, assisted by the light of lanterns on their boats, the adept birds dive into the river to snatch fish attracted by the glowing lights. When the cormorants surface with their catch, the ushu swiftly retrieves the fish. Cormorant fishing requires great expertise, with fishermen needing to hone their skills for at least 10 years before becoming fishing masters. The cormorants also must be well trained for this symbiotic fishing relationship to succeed. Despite efforts to preserve this tradition, cormorant fishing is in decline, as modern fishing techniques have made it less essential. Number 15. Conch Island. Off the coast of Anegada in the British Virgin Islands sits an island made entirely of conch shells. This is Conch Island, a unique accumulation formed by centuries of discarded shells from fishing. The island is a testament to the popularity of conch throughout the Caribbean and the long fishing legacy around Anegada. Conch shells can be found by the thousands in the waters around the British Virgin Islands, both still housing live conchs and as empty discarded husks. Fishermen harvest conchs daily to supply local demand for conch dishes like fritters. After extracting the meat, the shells were historically tossed overboard around Anegada. Over hundreds of years, these accumulated shells formed into a permanent island. While the iconic shells look striking from afar, up close, many are defaced from the process of breaking them open to remove the meat. No longer inhabited by living conchs, the shell island cannot expand further. However, it persists as a unique monument to centuries of conch fishing in the area. Conch Island also serves as a destination for sightseeing tours showcasing the island's history and ecology. Swimming, shell collecting, and snorkeling around the small island offer additional activities. Some also believe Conch Island played a role in expanding coral reef systems around Anegada by providing solid surfaces for corals to attach to and grow. The discarded shells formed a foundation enabling coral formations to thrive. This coral reef ecosystem then became home to diverse marine life, supporting Anegada's fishing industry. Although an unintended consequence, the shell island significantly benefited the marine environment. Conch Island remains a memorable legacy commemorating Anegada's fishing heritage and the humble conch shell's ties to local culture. Number 14. Basket star. The basket star is one of the more bizarre creatures that can be pulled up in deep-sea fishing nets. Native to ocean floors worldwide, this alien-looking sea star cousin ensnares prey with its intricate branching array of limb-like arms. Its highly unique anatomy sets it apart from more familiar five-armed starfish species. Instead of 5 arms, basket stars have 5 central discs, from which sprout dozens of slender, jointed arms that repeatedly branch into finer, delicate tendrils. This creates a tangled web that can span up to 2 feet across. The hundreds of quivering, branched limbs are lined with tiny hooks and mucus-coated spines that snare plankton, shrimp, and other small animals, passing the food to their central mouth. Their limber, flexible arms can rapidly recoil when touched. While starfish can regenerate lost arms, basket stars can regenerate entire limbs over and over. This helps them recover from frequent damage in their deep-sea environment up to 9,800 feet down. If part of an arm breaks off, it simply continues to wiggle and fish for food, while a new branch regenerates. This evolutionary adaptation is essential to their survival at extreme depths, with limited food sources and many predators. Number 13. Sunken treasure trove. In 2015, a startling discovery revived dreams of sunken treasure off the Florida coast. Professional salvage diver Eric Schmidt was exploring the Atlantic seabed 25 miles east of Fort Pierce when his metal detector lit up. Schmidt had honed in on the remains of a Spanish galleon destroyed in a 1715 hurricane. Over the next months, he went on to recover over 1 million in gold coins and rare Colombian emeralds from the wreck. The shipwreck lies within Florida's Treasure Coast, so named because traces of the Spanish treasure fleet still wash up after a hurricane smashed the ships and drowned hundreds along present-day Vero Beach. Of 11 treasure ships sailing that fateful July, 8 met their end. Today, the wrecks remain scattered offshore, periodically revealing new bounties. Continued discoveries like Schmidt's keep the legend alive. The appeal draws underwater explorers, with major hauls made even in the last decade. While Spain recovered much treasure shortly after the 1715 hurricanes, more yet slumbers on the sea floor awaiting the lucky adventurer or innovative technology able to snare it. With over $500 million in gold and artifacts yet unrecovered, the promise of riches hovers like the glimmer of a perfect doubloon, so close but surrounded by eternal mystery. For now, legends persist of these lost fortunes cast overboard centuries ago, waiting to reward those bold enough to seek them among the ghosts of fortunes past. Number 12. Live grenade. While magnet fishing yields some harmless treasure, it can also unearth objects better left buried. 2 British men dredged up this lesson along with an alarming relic, a live World War I hand grenade discovered deep in a canal after over 100 years submerged. Magnet fishing has boomed recently among hobbyists, using powerful magnets to trawl lost valuables from waterways. Canal banks are popular sites given decades of objects like tools and bicycles being chucked and then concealed by mud. Most finds are harmlessly discarded metal, but occasionally less innocuous items surface. While scouring a canal, the 2 magnet fishermen felt their magnet snag something substantial. Reeling it closer revealed a heavy, fist-sized rusted sphere, unmistakably an Mk1 grenade from World War I. Realizing it could erupt if jostled, they immediately notified authorities who arrived to safely transfer the volatile, century-old ordnance for controlled demolition, averting disaster for nearby boaters and homes. Investigations suggest the grenade ended up in the canal after disposal attempts by World War I munitions factories bordering the waterway years ago. Though this grenade proved inert when found, experts worry more undetonated relics await in canal silts worldwide, posing unpredictable threats. For magnet fishing hobbyists, the takeaway is clear. Be prepared for any deadly souvenir history tosses your way. You never know what might explode from the depths. Number 11. Antlers. Sailor accidentally discovered this in the middle of the ocean. In 2021, two northern Irish fishermen made an astonishing discovery while fishing for trout. Rather than fish, Raymond McElroy and his assistant Charlie Coyle pulled up a giant set of antlers still attached to a skull estimated to be over 2,500 years old. The enormous antlers belonged to an extinct species known as the Irish elk. Irish elks, despite the name, were a species of giant deer, not elk. They sported immense antlers spanning up to 12 feet, the largest antler spread of any known deer species. Although called Irish elks due to many remains being found in Ireland's peat bogs, they inhabited much of Europe and Asia before going extinct around 5,900 BC. McElroy and Coyle's find came from Lough Neagh, a large freshwater lake in Northern Ireland where elk antlers and bones have been uncovered before. The lake's cool, oxygen-deprived bottom mud helps preserve fossils, but few specimens rival the size and condition of these antlers still attached to the skull. Paleontologists value such intact samples to better understand the Irish elk's anatomy and environment before extinction. Changes in climate and vegetation likely led to their decline. The impressive antlers demonstrate the immense proportions of male Irish elks in their prime. McElroy plans to display the valuable specimen in his garden. This rare glimpse into the past shows how modern fishing adventures can sometimes dredge up astonishing biological legacies. Number 10. Sea of Pumice. In 2019, marine biologists made a remarkable discovery in the Pacific Ocean near Leyte Island, New Zealand. A gigantic floating raft of pumice rock spanning 58 square miles, over twice the size of Manhattan. This Sea of Pumice likely originated from an underwater volcanic eruption, creating one of the largest known pumice rafts ever recorded. Volcanic pumice forms when lava undergoes rapid cooling, creating a lightweight, porous rock filled with gas bubbles that allow it to float. Analyses traced this vast pumice mass to an eruption at the Havre Seamount volcano north of New Zealand in 2012. The violent eruption expelled trillions of pumice rocks up through the ocean to form a floating plateau. Pumice rafts can drift in the ocean for months or even years before dispersing. Along the way, they transport marine organisms that colonize the floating rocks. Scientists are studying this pumice island to understand how it could impact marine life distribution and ocean ecosystems. There are concerns invasive species catching rides might disrupt native food chains, but pumice rafts may also help restock remote islands with new plants and wildlife otherwise inaccessible. The chance discovery of this sprawling pumice raft underscores how dynamic our oceans remain, with geological processes and natural hazards still shaping marine environments. Beneath the ocean's calm surface lie forces capable of creating floating islands overnight that persist as hidden oases transporting marine life for hundreds of miles before humans ever detect their presence. Number 9. Alien crabs. The horseshoe crab, though dubbed a living fossil, now faces an uncertain future. These ancient aquatic arthropods have inhabited Earth's oceans for over 450 million years, surviving ice ages, meteor strikes, and the rise and fall of the dinosaurs. But modern perils driven by humans have rendered their longevity no guarantee. Tracing back to the Ordovician period before vertebrates walked the land, horseshoe crabs carry vertebrate blood but arthropod anatomy. They migrate from deep ocean floors to mate along North American Atlantic and Asian coasts, where their eggs nourish migratory birds. Their reproductive cycle has continued uninterrupted for 200 million years, until recently. In modern times, horseshoe crab blood became invaluable medicine due to compounds rendering intravenous drugs safe. Their distinctive baby blue blood sells for $15,000 a quart, fueling an unsustainable capture rate. With horseshoe crab numbers already diminishing, the species is now near threatened. Unless horseshoe crab harvests are reduced and artificial blood replacements come online, we risk losing a pivotal species that have endured unimaginable changes on Earth. What future would medicine face if these living fossils that survived the dinosaurs disappeared in our lifetimes? Our actions today dictate whether they persist for millennia more or fade as modern casualties of thoughtless progress. Number 8. Invisible fish. New Zealand's marine life holds some camouflage experts, like the stealthy Salpa maggiore. This nearly see-through sea creature is one of the more bizarre catches a fisherman could hope for. Stuart Fraser was hauling in fish off New Zealand's South Island in late 2022 when an utterly alien specimen emerged in his net, a squishy, transparent blob with an orange core. The Salpa maggiore is a barrel-shaped, jelly-like crustacean and a member of the salp family. Ranging 1 to 2 inches long, they inhabit temperate and subpolar oceans. Salps move by contracting muscles to pump water through their gelatinous bodies. They drift with currents, consuming phytoplankton, and can form huge blooms. But their most striking feature is their transparency, which provides the ultimate aquatic camouflage. With their internal organs visible through crystal-clear bodies, salps are almost entirely invisible to predators hunting by sight. Only their compact orange digestive organs stand out, looking almost like a yolk inside an egg. Salps anchor themselves in the water column by spinning mucus strands to float suspended like little ocean blimps. The mucus helps regulate buoyancy, so they neither sink into dangerous depths nor drift to shore. Being see-through lets them disappear against shifting shafts of light penetration. Finding something invisible makes for a baffling catch. While lacking commercial value, salps fascinate as one of the ocean's strangest creatures. Their jelly-like texture and ghostly invisibility showcase some of evolution's most inventive aquatic adaptations. They remain elusive to the point most fishermen may never glimpse one. Yet in our complex seas, there are still invisible wonders to uncover if we know where to look. Number 7. Giant Marlin. Giant marlins live up to their name in every respect. Growing up to 12 feet long and weighing over 1,000 pounds, they rank among the largest and fastest fish species on Earth. A massive marlin recently snagged off Jamaica's coast highlighted the creature's imposing proportions and power that have fascinated fishermen for ages. This apex predator inhabits tropical and subtropical waters worldwide. Its streamlined, spear-shaped upper jaw inspires its alternate name of swordfish. From this extended sword, the huge cylindrical body tapers back, culminating in a crescent tail that propels the marlin through the water at astonishing speeds, clocked at over 68 miles per hour. Giant marlins feed primarily on tuna, mackerel, squid, and other large prey they can slash with their bony sword. They pursue prey at blistering speeds thanks to specialized physiology, including a circulatory system that keeps blood warm. Their large eyes possess layers enabling superb vision, giving them tremendous visual acuity to spy on prey from afar. Since the early 1900s, giant marlins have been prized by sports fishermen for the spectacular fight they give on rod and line. The 100-minute battle with this recent massive catch demonstrates the extreme endurance and strength these giants possess. While dangerous if threatened in proximity, they rarely attack humans. Marlins represent the pinnacle of speed, power, and oceanic mastery, dominating the seas through pure predatory perfection. Number 6. Electric clam. Like an underwater disco ball, the electric flame scallop puts on quite the light show. This bivalve mollusk inhabits coral reefs in the Indo-Pacific, where its specialized mirrors produce flashes and pulses of reflected light. This dazzling display likely helps ward off predators. More precisely, the clam powerfully snaps its shell open and closed to expose and conceal a colorful array lining the mantle folds. Scientists discovered this tissue contains layered packets of thin, mirror-like crystals made from guanine, able to reflect light. These reflective packets lie beneath a translucent membrane that allows light penetration. When the clam rapidly exposes and then hides this mirrored tissue, it creates a strobe or flashing effect. Researchers believe this serves to startle or confuse potential predators like mantis shrimp. The mirrored material essentially forms a radiant burglar alarm. Some compare it to a camera flash suddenly going off in a darkened room. Beyond anti-predator defense, the flashy display may facilitate communication with other scallops. The patterns and rhythms could help attract mates or enable groups to startle in unison, better avoiding danger. By harnessing reflective properties from simple organic compounds, the electric clam demonstrates some of evolution's most ingenious survival adaptations still being discovered in our vibrant and complex oceans. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. A crew was in the Pacific when they came across a strange object. Puzzled, they struggled to understand what it could be. Some speculated it was debris from a crashed flight, but its pristine state seemed inconsistent with wreckage. Others theorized a scientific instrument to study the ocean, or perhaps new military technology. Before the team could get close enough to observe details, the object suddenly submerged into the watery depths and vanished. What could it have been? The crew was baffled by the brief encounter. Share your theories in the comments. Number 5. Octopus stealing crab. The giant Pacific octopus is a master of stealth and strategy. As one group of Maryland crab fishermen learned firsthand, attempting to catch legal crab is futile when a brilliant 8-armed bandit is on the prowl. Dramatic footage reveals one audacious octopus stealing directly from the crab pots, showcasing the impish skills and uncanny intelligence, allowing it to so easily outmaneuver human efforts. The scenes unfold as fishermen haul up trap after trap, excited in anticipation of a good harvest. But rather than strong and feisty crabs, they find only empty shells floating mockingly at the surface. Finally, the culprit emerges, a massive giant Pacific octopus, using its nimble tentacles and sharp beak to meticulously pick off and devour each crab the instant it enters the trap. This feat would be impressive enough. But the octopus executes its heist with such boldness directly in front of the crab pot owners that you can't help but root for its almost humorous level of defiance. The poor fishermen can only look on in exasperation as it so brazenly foils their labors, aware there is ultimately little to be done to outwit such a clever adversary on its home turf. We all enjoy an underdog tale, and this mischievous octopus demonstrates sometimes the ocean has tricks up more than just its sleeve. Number 4. Megalodon teeth. Is the Megalodon shark still lurking in our ocean's murky depths? While considered extinct, periodic discoveries of unusually fresh fossils keep speculation alive that Earth's largest shark may yet glide in deep waters. Its massive triangular teeth conjure images of a monstrous 60-foot predator resembling a supersized great white. But could teeth dredged up from such improbable depths and ages suggest Meg still hunts in darkness? No prehistoric marine terror titillates shark enthusiasts more than the legend of Carcharocles Megalodon, which scientists surmise prowled warm seas 15 million years ago, feeding on whales with 7-inch teeth serrated like steak knives. But some recent Megalodon tooth analyses have spurred double takes. In 1875, HMS Challenger pulled 2 Carcharocles teeth from over 12,000 feet down. Oddly, they were dated to just 11,000 years old. If accurate, Meg lived a million years beyond previous estimates. Did deep seas shelter this ultimate apex hunter longer than known? Most experts consider dating or identification errors more likely than biological defiance of accepted extinction timelines. The harsh conditions where these teeth were found also make contamination plausible. But with so many unknowns still lurking far beneath the waves, who's to say a lineage of Meg didn't adapt to unrelenting pressures and eternal darkness, surviving evolutionary forces that destroyed its surface-dwelling kin? Number 3. Oarfish of the deep. Legends of massive sea monsters may have been inspired by sightings of the oarfish, an elongated silver species inhabiting deep offshore waters worldwide. Known as the king of herrings, the little studied oarfish holds the records for the longest bony fish and longest pelagic fish ever discovered, reaching lengths up to 56 feet. With a streamlined crimson dorsal fin running its entire length, the oarfish swims vertically like a snake, undulating its long, ribbon-like body and paddle-shaped pelvic fins. It frequents depths from 650 down to 3,300 feet, living largely within Earth's twilight mesopelagic zone, relying on minimal motion to conserve energy. With tiny scales, toothless jaws, and weak musculature, oarfish are harmless plankton feeders, despite folkloric reputations as destructive sea beasts. Sightings generate excitement as fortunate glimpses of an elusive ocean realm. Oarfish sometimes drift to shallower waters if injured or dying, arriving limply ashore. Indigenous Japanese lore dubbed them messengers from the sea god's palace, believing beaching signified impending earthquakes. Continued fascination surrounds whether old mariner stories telling of battles against colossal seafaring monsters might represent fanciful retellings of chance oarfish encounters amplified over generations. Number 2. Whale swallows kayakers. For two California kayakers, a serene day admiring sea life took a shocking turn straight into the mouth of a feeding humpback whale. Incredible footage captures the giant mammal breaching to swallow both kayakers whole before spitting them back out. The pair were offshore observing whales and seals when suddenly a lunging whale capsized their tiny kayak, toppling them into its widening throat as onlookers watched horrified and response crews rushed to respond. Yet within seconds, the unharmed kayakers popped up next to their boat, scraping whale saliva off their gear. The whale had somehow ejected both paddlers and kayak immediately after ingesting them. Marine biologists suspect the whale was actively feeding on abundant anchovies and accidentally engulfed the kayak and occupants amid its huge lunge. Fortunately, humpbacks have relatively small throats only about the width of an orange compared to their bulk. The wrong angle likely saved their lives, the kayak preventing the whale's throat from sealing as designed. They briefly experienced every whale watcher's wildest dream, being inside a whale's mouth without harm, before abruptly getting spat back to reality. Talk about unforgettable lifelong tales. Number 1. Romantic rowboat. When love calls, some will go to great lengths to answer. This was the case for a man away from his Indian bride. To reunite with her, he set out on an epic journey, attempting to row a small dinghy over 1,200 miles across the open ocean from Thailand to India. Desperate and lacking funds for airfare, the lovelorn husband formulated an audacious plan. After buying a modest rowboat, he stocked it with what few supplies he could and set out alone from Thailand's Ranong province, intent on rowing to Mumbai against all odds. Guiding himself by the stars, he slowly navigated the first grueling miles. But battling extreme fatigue, harsh conditions, and meager rations, his progress soon stagnated. After 2 weeks, and still 1,000 miles from shore, the ill-equipped mariner found himself helpless against wind and currents. Luckily, Malaysian authorities received a tip about the struggling solo sailor and dispatched rescuers to find him. Once safely aboard their vessel, his epic journey was over. Though ending in anticlimax, the mission proved an impressive feat of endurance and devotion. Sometimes love makes us attempt the impossible, even if the ending isn't quite as imagined. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.